Well, we're looking forward for that, and the Windward Island Volcanoes winning the toss and elected to bat. And Sunil and Windwards starting with Captain Kimani Melios as well as Stefan Pascal, who is opening the batting for the Windward Island Volcanoes. Just to give you quickly the team: Kimani Melios, Kavem Hodge, Jeremy Salazano, Chadwick Descarte, Nicholas Redhead, Larry Edwards, Dylan Douglas, Stefan Pascal, Darren Ned, Asif Hooper, and Windward Island Volcanoes. And for Nepal, it's Bortel, Asif, Anil, Padel, Kaishan, Jora, Sampal, Karan, Casey.
First delivery there from Karen worked down to the third man position off the bat of Captain Melius, and the Windward Islands immediately off the mark. They're one without loss in this the first over.
Yes, and practice, and along with Kamal Eri and Saka Dakal. That's the lineup for Nepal, with just one delivery so far, and Melius guiding that down to third man, and it go off and running.
So Stefan Pascal to take strike as Karan at the top of his mark, and certainly removing this beautiful piece of sunshine that we have here this afternoon. And must reach out to our friends in Nepal. We've made quite a lot of friends in Nepal. Certainly a pleasure to have you viewing this live broadcast today, and let's do hope that we got a very interesting game. One down the leg side has to be wide, I thought. Well,
seems to be brushing the tide pad on its way.
Well, a good take there by wicketkeeper Asif. Diving away to his left and gloving it, ensuring that there was no additional run to the total of the Windward Island Volcanoes. They're one without loss. And certainly will be looking for a victory here today.
Certainly, I think they would want to come back and come out with a victory, having been defeated in the first two practice games.
This one works in that short third man position. Now being picked up, and Stefan Pascal is off the mark. He's on one second run being scored here for the Volcanoes. And going back to the last game, after being 70 odd without loss. They lost their way after Melius would have, after losing, was it August?
August, that was the first goal.
Right, and certainly the winners lost their way.
Yes, and very soon after we had Melius departing for a well-paid half-century.
And it is. It's time to Melius, the captain. This one is just tucked into the onside. There comes off the middle fence. There was a possible second there, but Melius would have none of it, and bring Pascal back into his crease. And the third single of the Windward Islands innings. They're now three without loss.
I think that was good judgment on the part of Melius, sending him back, because that would have been suicidal. The return was a good one.
A very good return indeed. As our team, they've been certainly doing a lot of work at the target field, a lot of catching. One of the areas that they certainly need to improve on, and the captain spoke about, is ground fielding. This one is right up in the block hole, and Pascal is on top of it. Just pushes it back up along the pitch, showing some respect there to Karan.
Well, so far, a pretty good over indeed. 5 deliveries, 3 runs on the card. I'm sure that Windwards would want to end this with a boundary, but Karan will have different ideas. That he has really been on the button, so to speak, so far in this over.
Well, over the last games, especially the last one, last Thursday, the openers for the Winners have been quite watchful early on.
And then start pushing it on. So we'll wait to see.
What is their approach? It is the third and final practice game as Karan into Pascal. Just drives, but this one more into the pitch itself and bounced into the path of Karan, picked it up quite nicely, and that's the end of the first over, 3 without loss.
Very good over indeed on the part of Karan and Nepal. So starting very well. First over, just 3 singles. Melios is on 2, Pascal 1, and definitely that's what they would want to continue.
Without a doubt. So the Nepal team, when they are finished with this, they're going to be traveling to Houston, Texas. By the way, on the there was some significant rainfall. As a matter of fact, the superstorm was in Texas just a couple of days ago. Let's to hope that it has no impact on the infrastructure there, as the Nepal team will make their way up to Texas, Houston, to continue with their preparation for Cricket World Cup 2024. That's the T20 World Cup being played in the USA and here in the Caribbean, here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're preparing to host 5 games, and I don't know if you noticed that, but all polls are up. And this morning I noticed that one of the polls already had their lights.
Well, that's a very good sign, because yesterday there were no lights whatsoever.
To this delivery, Melios up and over, and that's gonna one bounce into the fence. And that's the first boundary of the innings for the Windward Islands.
Well, the practice was short and wide, giving Melios the room that he wants, and he deliberately played it over third man, 1 bounce across the ropes, and so pressure very early on. He would want to tighten things up, but once he's loose, Melios will be attacking him. He's that kind of a player.
Well, you certainly can give Melios that kind of room outside the off stump. He'll certainly make you pay. And such was the case in that last delivery. This one is well pitched up and rocked him on the pad, but that certainly was along the leg side. No run resulting, and it's still 7 without loss.
So I would say a good comeback delivery on the part of Practice. And Melios is wrapped on the pad. Angling down the leg, and really no damage done. Half-hearted appeal.
Stefan Pascal is in on the strikers, and as Pascal is forced back here. That's Melios forced back. Allowed a plead as he was wrapped on the pad, but umpire was not interested. And well, Practice certainly creating some early problems here.
Well, that one cut back from outside the off, and he was really no man's land. Lack of foot movement there on the part of Melios, and I think he passed by an inside edge.
So, as you said, a good comeback there by Practice, being struck by boundary in his first delivery of this, the second over. But his last 2 certainly creating some problems for the Windward Islands captain, Kamani Melios, in that upright stance. This one, he drives, pass cover. That's going to find the boundary. Glorious shot. That's 4.
Well, he gave himself some room and really opened up the offside and beating the short extra cover, who just looked at it. He had a dive, a despairing dive, and then looked at it, just go across the ropes for 4. So the second boundary in the over for Melios, and the total now goes on.
Well, one of the things, of course, in this game is that you ought to be looking to hit the right spots. The moment you go, off, you're certainly going to pay for it, and that's what happened to Practice. So Moves in once again to Bolton Melius. And Melius drives outside the off stump, misses it completely.
Well,
So too does the wicketkeeper.
I'm looking and it's buys.
It is. Yes, he missed it. So that's
So
4
to the
buys.
keeper.
So Asif, of course, up to the stumps. There to the fadium of practice. And not being able to that one. So
well, we saw in the previous game, Anil tend to come up to the stump for practice, and had one good stumping, I think, in the first game.
Melius is wrapped in the pad yet again. Loud appeal there from the bowler, but the umpire not interested. They take one in the interim, and one more to the total is 16 for no loss. That's a leg bye.
So at the end of over number 2, 15 without loss. I think what we note there, 16 without loss, going at 8 runs and over. But just getting that ball to come back into the right hander, and I think that's creating a bit of a problem for Melius very early in the innings.
Without a doubt, and uncomfortable there for Melius. There we see Stefan Pascal on screen. He's going to take strike. And there's going to be a change in bowling.
Yes, Karan has been pulled out of the attack. It looks like Airy. Kamal Singh Airy looks like.
Okay, the second of 2 Airy in the side.
Yes, and
for Nepal.
Dipendra Airy, he got injured this morning, so he was pulled out. He was lined up to play, pulled out, and Sample came in.
Kamal bowls to Melius down the track, hoists this one high. And it might just very well get to hand. It doesn't, but good work in the end to avoid that boundary. And 2 in the process. And there you see, of course, a bit of frustration coming there from Melius. He was certainly kept in check there by practice the previous over. And without even having a look at Kamal, went down the wicket and skied that one.
Well, really, a bit of a premeditated shot there. And really, no need for it. It's still very early days yet. And but luckily for him, he got away with it, and he lives to fight another day.
Melius is on 12. This one is bowled. Neck and crop. Knew absolutely nothing about that one. And certainly that's Nepal striking early, taking the first wicket.
Well, I think if you looked at area a while ago, he's showing that one was leaving the right hander. Here we see it on screen. Very good delivery indeed. Melius tentative. That in fact that between came back, go right between bat and pad, and losing the middle stump in the process.
Beautiful delivery.
He has to make his way back for 12. It's now 18 for 1 with 3.
So Melius had a good in the first game, 50 odd in the second, but this time around only contributing 12.
And so we see Kavem Hodge, who had a pretty dismal time in the second game. He comes out to do battle.
Hodge, of course, has experience at the international level, would have traveled with the West Indies team to Australia. And certainly a Dominican who has excelled at the national level in Dominica, and certainly at the
Windwards level as well. I think he has already had 2 half centuries under his belt at the test level. So he knows what it is to be at the top. And the Windwards would depend on him to put a good total on the tins.
So Kamal Airy to continue. This is the third over to Kavem Hodge. Hodge works that nicely into the offside. A fielder comes off that mid-off position, and there's just one more.
There's no run.
There's no run.
Yeah, so
well,
it was well played. But
for a moment, I thought it was a single.
It's a shadow there by the short cover, but tidied up by mid-off. So he kept things down to 0. So Airy looks rather exuberant, looks alive, and with that early success, so surely would have been buoyed by that early success. And he can see that he's really running in with purpose in those steps.
Outside the off square the wicket by Kavem Hodge. That's a classic force, Charlo.
Yes, it was wide, and he's a square drove it. and the fielders just looked at it as it raced across the backward position and into defense for 4. The total on 22, and what a way to get off the mark.
Yeah, that's a top-class shot there off the bat of Kavem Hodge. Outside stump, and he rocked back and cracked it square the wicket, and it raced across the outfield here at Park Hill, and the Windward Islands are now 22 for the loss of 1. So Kamal Airy, fairly good first over, troubled the Windward Islands captain Melius, and plucked his middle stump out of the ground. But Kavem Hodge, certainly with different ideas. He's just about the top of that 30-yard circle, breaking now and races in, passes umpire Butler, and Hodge drives aerially, but this one finds the fielder there at mid-on, and in the interim, 1 run added.
Definitely, so on to 23, and with that he goes on to 5. Pascal, who has barely been a spectator in the last few deliveries, he comes in to strike. He's on 1, and certainly would want to put a decent total to finish this practice game with a score under his belt.
Airy, yet again, as we've lost the sunshine a bit, but that's not a bother. And this one is driven into that cover position. Captain Rohit Padel is there to pick it up. That's the end of over number 3. At the end of it, just under 8 runs per over, 7.8 of the outs. The Windward Islands are 23 for 1.
Yeah, so I think Eric would feel very happy with his over. He picked up a bit of Melius in his over, and just gave away, 7 runs. So pretty tidy over indeed. A successful one as well. At this level, you're going on 8 runs and over. You can count yourself as doing well.
Without a doubt. And there's yet another bowling change at the northern end. We see Gulshan.
Kaishan coming into the attack.
All right, replaced in practice. So Captain Padel trying not to make these batters too comfortable.
Bringing the changes. It's 4th over and it's the 4th bowler.
Exactly. So Gulshan. See, just a bit of a warm-up, and one little changes being made in the field. But Gulshan is now ready, and this time a ball to Stefan Pascal. Batted at number 3 today for the Volcanoes. In the previous game, he batted at number 4. And a young man who certainly can do a lot with the ball as far as bowling is concerned. But here's Gulshan. And Pascal is spinning at one outside the off stump. He's looking to probably pull that somewhere over to make it mid-wicket. Didn't get any bat onto the ball. And the total remains at 23 for the loss of 1. Saw the umpire just indicating that's the 1 shot for the over. As Gulshan. Very tall. A Nepal team that is more or less on the short side. Quite a number of short players. But Gulshan is towering over many out there in the middle. To Pascal. Pascal hits this one high and hard. This is going to go into the long on fence.
Hodge sporting number 22 on the back of his shirt.
So 6 runs.
Just lofted it over long on. The total goes on to 29. So Hodge means business. He hustles on to 11. Pascal's still on 1. And Gulshan would be well advised not to come into that slot, because it was in the slot and Hodge making full use of it.
He will make you pay. So there's Gulshan. And Hodge swats the one. Same position, same result. And it's now 35 for 1.
Well, he advanced down the track. Gulshan saw him, banged it in short, and he stood up and just hit it over wide long on for another 6. So back-to-back 6s here, and the total hustles on to 35. And Hodge goes on to 17.
So Gulshan being taken to the cleaners. 2 consecutive 6s off the bat of Kavem Hodge. And now we see the player and be moved from mid on right back on that long on fence. But Hodge has been clearing them a good distance.
It looks like the Captain Padel who has positioned himself on the long on boundary.
Gulshan. Yet again to have him Hodge. Hodge makes this one. I believe he got something onto the ball. No run as it was taken by the keeper on the first bounce.
Yeah, he looked to tickle that down to fine leg. Didn't get much bat onto it. And just a faint edge, and it went on the bounce to the keeper. So no run. In fact, Captain Padel finds himself at mid-off.
Having a word there with Gulshan. The ball is the fourth delivery, the fourth over. 35 for the loss of one. The Winner Island Volcanoes batting first. And well run there by both batters. Dropped at his feet there by Hodge, and Pascal responding well.
Yeah, good call by Pascal and Hodge. Not certain where it went initially, but Pascal called him through, and in the end got a very easy single. One that was really just at the feet of Hodge, getting that inside edge into his pads.
So 36 for one as Gulshan making sure that he has good control of that white ball, and